let's start with some headlines from across the state. We have a little bit of breaking news this morning. And that comes from our friend Matt Stepp. Matt Stepp, Dave Campbell's Sexual High School Football Insider, reporting, and Allen ISD has confirmed it, that Allen has made a hire. You may remember a couple weeks ago, Allen ISD looked to lost Chad Morris. Chad Morris stepped down as the head coach after 1 year. They have found their new head coach. Their new head coach is Lee Wigginton. Lee Wigginton, formerly now of Midlothian Heritage. He replaces Chad Morris, who resigned his position in mid-May. Coach Wigginton has been at Midlothian Heritage for the last 6 seasons. He's the only coach they've ever had. He had a very interesting kind of journey. He was hired. He kind of bounced. He had a few kind of small school jobs. Bosqueville, Comfort, Mejia did a great job at all those places. He gets hired at Midlothian High in 2010, I want to say. Hired at Midlothian High. Then Midlothian ISD announces they're going to hire, or they're going to open Midlothian Heritage High School, their second high school, Midlothian ISD. And he says, cool, I'll take that job. He goes across town and takes the newer school job, which is
weird, but
kind of rare, but it ended up being, a great move. He did a great job there.
Some people are just program builders, like they like the challenge.
Went 60-17 in his 5 seasons there, a regional final, a pair of regional semifinal appearances, etc. He has an overall record of 157-89. I do think this is interesting, and Matt Stepp pointed this out in his article on TexasFootball.com. He has a connection with Allen ISD Superintendent Robin Bullock. Robin Bullock is the before she was the super at Allen, she spent 13 years in the administration at Midlothian ISD, and she was on the staff in the admin when they hired Wigginton from Mejia to take over at Midlothian High,
which at that point has been.
So they have each other's phone numbers, is what I'm saying.
13 years since he went over there.
There's a connection. So,
he's also the THSCA president-elect, which is very notable.
Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you. I don't want to overlook that.
That is very notable now.
He's the president-elect of the Texas High School Coaches Association. He's very well respected. I'll say this as a personal note.
He's a good dude.
He might be the nicest guy in Texas high school football. He is
genuinely good human.
He is good people. He is. We saw him at the Hall of Fame. He is good people.
He's always smiling.
Oh my gosh, I've never seen him not happy.
No,
it's amazing. Anyway, but Lee Wigginton, he's the president-elect for the 2022-2023 school year. He will become the president of the THSCA. John King's the president now. And then, and so his term will end at coaching school. Lee Wigginton will be sworn in, and then they'll have an election for the next.
Yeah, because it was Rodney Webb, John King, and then now
Lee. So, I think that there's 2 reactions to this, to Lee Wigginton being hired at Allen, and this hire reminds me a lot of when Terry Gamble was hired by Allen. Tom Westerberg leaves after a remarkable career there at Allen. And goes down to Barbers Hill. And they go and they hire Terry Gamble. And the reaction to the hire of Terry Gamble really depended on how deep into the high school football game you are.
It is a big, if you know, you know
situation. This is a litmus test for how into high school football you are. Because there's let's just say the more casual fans, the people who check in every once in a while, who probably, let's be real, probably aren't watching this show. Right. Maybe they are today. Hi, we're here every day. Who don't watch the show every day.
Yeah, playoff goers,
They're probably saying, so wait a second, you went from the head coach at Arkansas to a guy who was the coach in 4A? Like, you're just getting him? Like, this Lee Wigginton, I mean this in a nice way. Lee Wigginton's not a splashy hire like Chad Morris is a splashy hire. Yeah. If they had gone and they had hired, I don't know. If they had gone and hired James Franklin from Penn State, that would have been a splashy hire. If they had hired Nick Saban, that would have been a splashy hire.
Even
Wigginton.
Yeah, even high school names are splashy hire when you start getting into a Riley Dodge or something like that.
Yeah, they're splashy names. They'd gone and hired Todd Dodge.
Yeah,
Todd
exactly.
Dodge. They pulled him out of retirement. That's a splashy hire, right? Lee Wigginton is probably not that splashy hire. He probably doesn't have that name recognition among the casual fans. But much like Terry Gamble, I think all the people who are, I don't want to start saying that we're in the know versus not in the know, but the people who follow high school football in Texas closer are like, oh, yeah, okay, that's a good hire. They know what he's doing.
That's a good coach.
He knows what he's doing. That's a good coach. He's done a great job. Same thing what happened with Terry Gamble. Terry Gamble, when he was at Midway, was a great coach at Midway. Then he gets hired at Allen, and there's some people like, oh, who's this guy? Lee Wigginton is much like that. And by the way, I would say things worked out for Allen under Terry Gamble. So that is, for me, that's my initial reaction. My initial reaction is that this is a really talented coach and a guy who knows what he's doing. Making the move from 4A to 6A, making the move from, you never know how this is going to work out because Allen's just such a different beast. But at the same time, if you're looking for a great high school football coach, Allen hired a great high school football coach.
Yeah. It also kind of picks out the big school snobs a little bit compared to like people who consume all sorts of type, because that's just one of those, any 4A coach, they're not going to know who that is.
Right. You may not know who that is. And especially, all due respect, Midlothian Heritage has not won a state championship.
No.
Midlothian Heritage, they went to the regional finals once, right? They didn't hire Scott Surratt at Carthage, where he's got 8 state titles, right? But they hired a darn good coach who's super well respected in the high school football community and a guy who's, super well connected. And obviously, they think he can do the job. I tend to agree with them. One thing I did point this out.
Okay.
His scheme down there at Heritage, tends to be a little bit more spread. In my opinion, it tends to be a little bit more throw it around the yard, things like that. He'll say it's a true spread. They want to have balance, but they want to do that. Or
they have guys who can catch the ball down there.
They throw the ball around.
They got some speed.
I do wonder. This is me talking out loud.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to adjust his scheme a little bit to become a little bit more power spread, only because the thing that Allen always has, yes, they have quarterbacks and receivers. I'm not saying that. But the strength they usually always have is big offensive line.
Oh, yeah. That will create holes that you need to run the ball.
So I wonder, I don't know. That's just me. That was one thing I thought. Anyway, Midlothian Heritage is now up, by the way. It's a good gig there at Midlothian Heritage. Good gig. But Allen has their new head coach. It is Lee Wigginton, the new head coach of the Allen Eagles, taking over for Chad Morris. Elsewhere in the high school football world, we mentioned this on Friday, but I want to mention it in the headline section again. Brian Brazel has retired at Hebron. Brian Brazel was the head coach. He's the only coach Hebron's ever had. Ever since 2000, of course, won a state championship there in 2005. A good friend of ours here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. He stops by the office and lets Rob buy him lunch a bunch. We wish him the very best. From what it sounds like, he's going to be taking another administration role in another ISD, but he's announced his retirement. I will also say this, and I thought about this over the weekend.
Okay.
When you make a move like this late, as a veteran coach, not usually,
it's because you want them not to mess up the hire.
Often, you do it to put your school district in a box. And you say, hey, I'm going to retire late, and you can do a whole search if you want, or you can promote the offensive coordinator, the defense coordinator, the assistant head coach, or whatever it is that I recommend. And here I am, an icon here at this school. Why don't you just do that? That is a play. That is a play that is in a lot of coaches' playbooks.
It's a little 4D chess.
I have not talked with Coach Brazel. I want to be clear, but it would not surprise me if there was an internal promotion simply because it's so late, and I think that might be the way that Coach Brazel wants it. I'd want to speak for him, but that's a theory that I have. Some college news that came down last week. Houston has been busy in the portal. They have added another playmaker, this one from Oklahoma. Wide receiver Cody Jackson, the former Richmond Foster star, went into the transfer portal last year. He's a redshirt freshman. He has 4 years of eligibility. He's transferring from the Sooners to the Cougs, coming back home. He was a 4-star prospect there. He was spectacular as a senior there at Richmond Foster. This is the 4th transfer wide receiver that Houston has added this offseason.
Dude, them and
Sam Brown,
SMU, they're just reeling them in.
Sam Brown, Joseph Manjack, Bryce Johnson, and now Cody Jackson adding to the Houston weaponry. They have been active.
That says a lot about the status quo of the AAC right now too. Maybe like this is about to be a high flying league.
I want to make sure I mention this, that there was a whole slew of state 7-on-7 tournaments this weekend. This was really like the first real big 7-on-7 weekend.
Yep. And Step was back, so.
Yes. And so if you are interested, Step sent it to me at some point. The whole list of people who qualified. In D1, Cy Falls, Fort Bend, Hightower, Lake Travis, surprise, Round Rock, Westwood, Plano, Coppell, woo, and Denton Guyer, again, surprise, surprise, all qualified in Division 1. In Division 2, Columbus, Anna, Pleasant Grove, again.
Surprise.
For a team that doesn't throw the ball,
yeah.
you know? Or it doesn't throw the ball as much as a lot of these other teams, like Lake Travis.
Right.
Nobody's ever going to mistake Pleasant Grove for Lake Travis.
No.
Lindale, Silsbee, Smithville, Breckenridge, and Brownwood all qualified there in Division 2. And Division 3, Hawley, again, probably not a surprise. Wink, Hearn, Chilton, Eastland, and Millsap all qualified. They have punched their tickets to College Station for State 7-on-7. That's coming up in June.
That's wild to think about because last year State 7-on-7 was when we really saw Jackson Arnold for the first time just like throwing it, and we're like, oh, Nelly.
We're like, who's this boy?
Yeah, and then we were like, oh, that's the wide-eyed freshman from the title game. Holy cow.
San Antonio Sam Houston's made a hire. They've hired San Antonio YMLA offensive coordinator Jeremy Williams to be their next head coach. The Sam Houston Hurricanes have Jeremy Williams as their next head coach. There's 2 articles I want to point you to on TexasFootball.com written by Mike Craven, College Insider. One of them, which went up today, which I think got bumped down because of the
Allen
news, but I want you to see it. The Allen news sparked in him an idea. He goes, and he just started talking about it around the office. He goes, is Allen a top 10 job in Texas? Is it a top 10 job? Mm-hmm. And so he just made a list. And so go check out Mike Craven's 10 best Texas high school football coaching jobs. Basically, he tries to remove pay from it because, you know, that's obviously part of it, but like he tries to remove it because he wants to make sure he's giving it a fair shake. But as far as everything that goes into taking a job, he put together his top 10 Texas high school football coaching jobs. So check that out on TexasFootball.com. There's also a great article that he wrote. The headline is, Could Spring Football Be the Next Casualty? Some coaches believe so. He talked with a number of coaches, including Sonny Dykes, including Dana Holgerson, and a few other coaches, Seth Luttrell. And they all...
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.